And good evening, Red Sox fans. How you doing? Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 27 of the BLEAV in Red Sox podcast. Ellis, man, it's a good day in Red Sox land. How you doing?
Yes, it is. Hey, I want to say Happy New Year to everyone. I mean, I haven't
Oh,
seen you since
yes.
the new year. So here
Yes.
we go.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It's all come and gone in such a blur. You
Yeah,
know, it's like I've almost forgotten that we're in 2023. I haven't had the moment yet where when you're writing the date, like if accidentally still writing the year prior. I haven't had
right.
that moment yet,
Oh, it's going to come.
so that will happen eventually for me.
Oh,
So
yeah.
but yeah, it is 2023. So, but yeah, happy New Year to everyone. And but yeah, hey, glad we got some good news early on in
Yes.
the new year. Glad we can, say that Rafael Devers will be in Boston for a very long time. Just some quick reactions, Ellis, man. How are you feeling about it? I'm sure it's pretty good, but kind of what were your initial reactions to everything?
Well, we initially spoke about it the last time I was on air with you, and we knew that that was something the Red Sox had to do. They had to maintain a guy like Rafael Devers in the organization. So the Red Sox fans can rest assured now he's going to be there for 11 years, and that's a long time. He's only 26 years old.
Yep.
And hey, there you go. That's a long time. I like that.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's no complaints when you look at the other contracts for the third baseman in the league.
Yep.
The type of numbers that he's been putting up. And just a guy that he's coming to work every day. He's working hard. And his defense really improved last year. It's not Nolan Arenado level by any means, but it showed a lot of improvement
Yeah.
last year. And he's coming to the ballpark every single day. He's becoming a leader of the team. Hey, what else is there to say? But we'll dive more into it here.
Yep.
But we do have to go over today's sponsor, and that is Bet Online. Basketball is back. The Celtics are doing great, and Bet Online remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at Bet Online. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, Bet Online features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events, whether that's NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, or even golf. Head to Bet Online to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BLEAV, BLEAV, to receive your rewards. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right, enough for me rambling on about sponsors. We got other important things to talk about, but let's just dive in, to the whole Rafael Devers thing. So let's just share the screen over here, and we can take a look at the big old contract that this guy just got. So taking a look here, it is an 11-year deal for $331 million per year. So right around 30.1 on the AAV. I mean, overall, this needed to happen,
Yep.
like you just said. It had to happen, especially, with the whole Mookie Betts thing that went down with Xander Bogaerts. At the end of the day, the Red Sox, out of the three, this is the guy they wanted to keep around long term. I'm wondering if this was something that they wanted to do, from the get-go. What do you think? Do you feel like, there was a possibility maybe a few years ago they looked at these three guys and they said, all right, which one do we want to keep long term? And they're probably leaning more towards Rafael Devers, or do you feel like this kind of just happened the way the dominoes kind of just fell?
I think it just happened the way it did because Mookie
Yeah.
Betts, of course, he was putting up phenomenal numbers. I mean,
Oh,
this kid continues to do so in LA, even a bigger ballpark, and he still has some of the quickest hands on the inside that I've ever seen. But,
Oh.
he can do it all defensively, offensively. You can put him in multiple positions. That was just one of those things that happened. You want to keep every guy, especially that came up in your system.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's hard. It's really hard. But I'm so glad they locked down, Rafael Devers. That's one of the big three that you're going to keep in the organization, in the fold, and just build around him.
Yeah, it's the thing with Devers is I talked about this the last time we had the last time we were live, where with Devers, the moment I saw, superstar on Rafael Devers was the opposite field home run off of Aroldis Chapman in
Yeah,
Yankee Stadium. As soon as he did that, I'm like, okay. I mean, who else does that? Not even Mookie Betts did that. Not
sure.
even Bogarts did. Well, Xander Bogarts was huge in his own way in the playoffs back in 2013. That guy was insane. But I had never seen anything like that with Devers. Taking a guy like Chapman at the time, who was phenomenal. He's not really the same Aroldis Chapman that we once knew, but this guy's throwing 102.
Oh, he was at the top of his
side.
game.
Say that again.
Yeah, Chapman was at the top of his game at the time.
Oh my God. And then he just takes and it's not even that he, just got a little lucky. He took him oppo, it was just like, I don't know. I could talk about that all day. That was crazy. And that was in the 9th inning, at Yankee Stadium of all places. Yeah. I mean, my God, as soon as I saw that, it's like, you get this guy signed up, thank God they did. Cause we were hearing, the possibilities of maybe a trade,
right,
with Devers. And to me, it's like, sure. Yeah. I'm going over a ton of trade possibilities, teams that could maybe use someone like Devers. But to me, the one thing I wanted to do was keep him around, long term. And especially with what these teams are doing, you just see the Yankees sign Aaron Judge, for the rest of his career. It's like, come on, why can't we do that?
You got to have one guy in your organization. That's for sure. And
you got to have, yeah.
But the thing about it, the thing that everyone was talking about was Rafi's defense. And like you said earlier, it improved so much last year. And it's going to continue to improve each and every year because his work ethic is unbelievable. I've seen that kid come out early on a daily basis, take ground balls, moving from his left to his right. So he knows what it takes to get better. And he's only going to get better each and every year.
Yeah, I agree. And, this is an 11-year deal. So, I mean, and honestly, let's say, first 6 years of the deal, 32, 33 season, let's say maybe his defense, maybe starts to wind down a little bit. Maybe he's not the same out there defensively. I still think his bat is going to age very well. I mean, you saw, how David Ortiz and his bat got better. He had a couple of seasons, I think it was like 2010, 2009. I think he was injured a little bit. There were a couple of seasons where he was slumping and people were wondering like, oh man, is David Ortiz, hitting the twilight of his career? But, and then look at the retirement season that he had. Unbelievable. Yeah. It was one of his best seasons. I think Devers can age like that because Devers, the way his approach at the plate to me, it's just so advanced. Like, what do you think about, obviously we can see what he can do with the bat, but what do you think about his, with all of your time that you had in the major leagues, what do you notice a lot about Rafi Devers and just his approach at the plate?
Well, at the plate, he's in attack mode the whole time. Yeah. There's not a pitch that he doesn't like, meaning if it's up in the zone, if it's down in the zone, in or out, if he's set on that particular pitch, he's going to let it fly. And I like that aggressiveness each and every at bat. Now, on the hand, as far as an 11-year deal, there's no concerns with me. The only thing that we would talk about maybe the next 5 or 6 years is, if he keeps himself in shape, if he stays in a routine where he keeps his body ready, because look at the guy's only 26 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a long time to develop, to get better each and every year. I mean, a lot of times kids don't hit their stride until they're 28 to 30 years old.
Right. And I'll be honest with you. I think a big guy that's going to be key for him and has been a key for him and is going to continue to be is Alex Cora.
Yeah.
I think Cora, if you notice with Cora, when he came back, when he was gone for that little time, Devers was struggling, defensively. It was not looking great. It was not even just below average. It was looking pretty bad. Then he came back in, and all of a sudden, Devers really just started showing a lot of improvements. I think Cora, at least from what I see, it just seems like he's very tough on him. He's like very tough love, like a father figure kind of a guy, kind of like how Terry Francona was with like Dustin Pedroia.
You need that.
Yeah, so I really I think Alex Cora has been really big for him in his career. And I think this is a time for Devers. This is his team now, and sure, you would have loved to have kept Devers and Bogarts around, together for the long haul. They were like the brothers, but this is Devers' team now. He's leading the way. He's the face of the franchise. Exactly. That's kind of what I feel like the Red Sox needed, like especially with Bogarts gone. They just needed a face, and it felt like you didn't really know the identity of this team. What do you think about that? Do you think it's, a guy like yourself that had such a successful career, do you feel like you need a face of the franchise like that?
Yeah, well, you said the right word right there, identity. We didn't know which direction the Red Sox were going, because we had already talked about, where would Rafi fit in, the Mets, the Dodgers, all the Phillies, these different teams, but we really never thought that the Red Sox were going to go 10, 11 years, which they have, and they've locked him in for that time. And that goes to show you they are going in the right direction. I think, with, most of the key free agents are pretty locked up now, but there's some guys around that hadn't been signed that can still help this club. And I don't think they're done by no means.
No, and I think that's what a great segue that is, because, we can sit here and talk Rafi Devers forever, but, it's at the end of the day, it is just an extension. It's obviously a massive extension, but there's only so much you can talk about. But I think what really is important here is, yes, you got your big, what's the word I'm looking for? Your big checklist item done. Like, this is what you needed to do this offseason, but there is still work to do.
Sure.
They still need someone up the middle. They could still use another arm for the rotation. There's question marks all over the place. It has a lot of upside, I think, but I still feel like they could use something that you can count on, someone that can give you close to 200 innings, someone of that kind of a caliber. With the Red Sox right now, it is looking like the Marlins are becoming a team that could be a possible trade partner. So Jim Bowden, he mentioned today, according to an industry source, Boston has been working on trades with the Marlins, who have a veteran shortstop, Miguel Rojas, and a proven starter in Pablo Lopez that they would be willing to move. They also have someone like Joey Wendell. He's more of a utility kind of guy, while Miguel Rojas is more of a pure shortstop. With Miguel Rojas, you're not really getting a whole lot of bat, but you would get a great glove. So that is something that you could count on in the field every single day. With someone like a Joey Wendell, he could play some shortstop, or you could have him play second. Alex Cora and those guys, they like the versatility. So I feel like either one of those guys could really, work out. I think they would still like to have someone like a Joey Wendell. But obviously Pablo Lopez would be the big ticket item. And they also do have some higher upside kind of guys where you got someone like a Jesus Luzardo, who's gotten his career back on track. He really was just kind of snowballing there for a little while, but the Marlins, seems like they've gotten him back on track. There is someone like an Edward Cabrera who's come up in trade rumors this offseason. Man, a 24-year-old kid, big old fastball, has good stuff. But out of all of these guys, and then there's a Trevor Rogers who has lost a little bit of value. He struggled last year with a 5.47 ERA. Alcantara's not going anywhere, so everyone can just write that off. But
right.
Lopez would be the guy who he has proven himself in the major leagues consistently. He's a good arm in the rotation, 180 innings last year, a respectable 3.75 ERA, a guy that you can count on to give you some innings. So where I'm kind of getting at here with the Marlins, the reason that I think they're just a good trade partner is you kill two birds with one stone with a trade. Here they're looking for some offense, where the Red Sox, now another name that has come up is Tristan Casas. I mean, I got to hear all of your thoughts on this. What do you think about the Marlins, first off, being just a trade partner? And what do you think about, a guy like Tristan Casas, who possibly could be a big piece of a deal?
Well, first of all, the Marlins being a trade partner, they have a plethora of young talent, not only at the big league level, but at the upper minor league level, AA and AAA. So they can play around with a lot of different options with the Marlins, and I'm sure you can make something happen. But like you said, Wendell, Lopez, Lazardo, all those guys are key players, and they can definitely help the Red Sox in different spots on the team. But when you're talking about a kid like Casas, I mean, he came up, the numbers weren't all there, but you could see the possibility in this man. I mean, the power, the patience that he shows at the plate, each and every at bat, he's watching pitches, he's tracking different things. To me, that shows you are a great hitter when you can be patient enough to wait on your pitch and you're not going to miss your pitch. Now, of course, he struggled when he came up, but you expect that when guys come up from AAA. Not only, you have to get your swing on, you get the nerves out of the way, and before long, that month is over. You really didn't show much, but I saw quite a few things that I like with him. So I wouldn't be so quick to get rid of him, trade him, but like you said, a lot of teams, if you're going to make a trade for other spots that you need in the rotation or in the bullpen or at shortstop, they're going to want to acquire something that they need. And they need some power. They need a young bat to come in and to fulfill. And who else would that be except Casas?
Right. And, I just want to point this out. You were talking about his plate discipline. I love this, the Fangraph scouting report. Casas hits with his eyes as much as his hands. That's probably the perfect way to talk about Triston Casas. And, he's got a good head on his shoulders too. He's a guy that you would just like to have on your major league roster.
Yeah.
Just seems very loose too. He hit a home run off of Garrett Cole. I mean, come on now.
I want to see a full year of this kid. That's what I want to see.
I know. Like I was very excited when he came up, and I was, it's very 50-50 for me whether or not I would love to keep him. Honestly, the last time I can think of this, it's deja vu, man. The last time the Red Sox and the Marlins made a big deal together was Josh Beckett, Mike Lowell, and you sent over Hanley Ramirez and then Anibal Sanchez as well. John Lester almost went in that deal. Thank God that didn't happen. Right. But I'm not saying Pablo Lopez is like Josh Beckett, but it's eerily similar how those two organizations are once again, looking at a possible trade where, a big time prospect like Hanley Ramirez, that was one I remember when Hanley, this was a guy who people were looking at as like, the next superstar in baseball. But the Red Sox had a chance to get an ace in Josh Beckett, and it ended up paying off for the Red Sox, got a World Series. But this is the one thing with Triston Casas here. If we go to baseballtradevalues.com, if you're looking at trade candidates for the Red Sox, and again, baseballtradevalues.com, they have around a 95% acceptance rate when it comes to their simulator. They're extremely good when it comes to just the algorithms they use, the formulas they use. So when you're looking at candidates for the Red Sox, when it comes to candidates, I look at what their value is and does it make sense to trade them. Now, to me, the Red Sox, I don't think it would make a lot of sense to get rid of Meyer because this could be your long-term shortstop in the future. Shortstop is a very valuable position, that dime a dozen when you get a guy like that comes around. Whitlock, I don't think they would trade him. They just signed him to a very friendly extension, and they want to move him to the rotation. Brian Bayo is showing I don't want to compare him to Pedro Martinez, but man, he kind of reminds me a little bit of him, and I think he could be a star. When you're looking at other guys, sure, you got a guy, in a Ceddanne Rafaela where you could possibly sell high on him because he has kind of come out of nowhere, and he's a little over aggressive at the plate. So I've read that scouts wonder a little bit about his plate discipline.
I don't mind that though.
I don't mind it either really too much.
Man, that kid, for me, I mean, he just has excitement written all over him.
Oh yeah.
I love his defense. I love the way he, at the plate, but that kid can absolutely play, and he can play multiple positions. So, I mean, that's another thing.
And he's so young. I saw a video of him today working out a little bit. I don't know. He was doing, what was he doing? He was doing like some hanging leg raises, working on the abs a little bit. Yeah. He was out there working, but man, I'm sorry. The the broken down power lifter in me is begging him to please eat a sandwich and please drink some whole milk. He needs to put some
Right.
meat on those
Put
bones.
some meat on, right.
But
Not
my
too,
goodness, if
when
he
those guys
does,
are that lean, man, it scares me. You know what I'm saying? You need a little fat on you somewhere.
you need a little something. If he's young though. Like if he starts putting a little muscle on him, oh boy. Like, man, he could be ridiculous down the road.
I'm telling you.
You know, and you got someone like a Miguel Blyce, but I don't think they would want to get rid of him. This is a guy who down the road, international signing, he could end up being pretty special. Hey, last time you had a guy with big time international signing, Xander Bogaerts. So, and Rafael Devers, obviously. So
you got York.
Yeah, Nick York is a guy. He had some injuries last year. He didn't look as good last year as he did the year prior, but they're very high on him. You know, one guy I wonder about, I don't know. Someone like a Verdugo, I wonder if the Marlins would be interested in him because he is a major league ready bat. He can hit. You know, I don't know. For the Red Sox, though, it would leave a bit of a hole in right field, especially. You know, right field at Fenway is one of those kind of positions where it's not just right field anyway. It's got, you know, some nooks and crannies out there. It's a little deeper out in their own right fields. Verdugo, he's a guy that can handle it out there. He is projected to be the right fielder as of right now. With Yoshida, he's more looking like a left fielder where scouts were okay with his defense when it came to playing a little bit more shallow. So Yoshida seems to be the perfect fit when it comes to left field. Kike has proven himself in center field. So Verdugo seems to be the right fielder. I wonder if the Marlins would be interested in him. You could put Duran out in right field. He was a bit of a disaster out in center field, but right field, he did show some promise. I don't know. What do you think about a possible, you know, Verdugo trade candidate? Do you think that could be something?
The only way I would trade Alex Verdugo if I got someone that was big league ready, had some power to balance that lineup. And, you know, I mean, to put Duran out there and trade Verdugo, no, I don't like that. I like Alex Verdugo. I like the way he can hit. He just needs to, you know, be a little more aggressive at times. Sometimes he's, you know, he takes a lot of pitches, and some of those pitches you can just jump on and just, you know, ambush that pitcher, man. Just get on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's looking for, you know, certain pitches. He's not getting that. He's letting it go, or he's trying to work the count a bit more. But when you're talking about late in the games, when you need that runner on second base, because he's a doubles hitter. He'll hit a home run occasionally, but he's a gap to gap kind of guy. And those guys are very valuable. You don't necessarily have to be a home run hitter to be productive. Yeah,
he is basic. He reminds me a lot of Andrew Benintendi. You know, very, very similar players. I think I would give the slight edge to Benintendi right now. But Verdugo has that potential to be right in that same kind of you know, like a class as a Benintendi, I think. Very similar players. But you know, out of all these guys, you know, kind of getting back to the whole point here, is Casas is a guy that is, I mean, I would hate to get rid of him, but he is expendable. He has a good amount of value where you could bring in someone like Lopez for the rotation. Because if you're looking at Lopez's value, baseball trade values, they're estimating Lopez right now, right in the middle, around a $38.7 million value. You could go as low as maybe like around 31 million of value, or as high as 46.5. They like to give a low, a median, and a high, because teams have different philosophies of how they value players. They like to give ranges. So, you know, Lopez, you know, I would say that sounds about right around 40. It's based off of what they do on the field, how much money they're making, what their age is, their track record of injuries, projections. So kind of similar to how Fangraphs, you know, does their statistics and values as well. So, you know, again, getting back to this, I would hate to get rid of Casas, but I could understand if he were to get traded, because he has a ton of value, and if it could help your team, you know. And another thing too is first base is a position right now for the Red Sox where you do have Dahlback. You could just have him play first, or if you wanted to, there's a couple of guys on the free agent market. You got Brandon Belt, who was really good a couple of seasons ago for the Giants. He was hurt a lot last year.
I
You
like
got a
it.
Trey Mancini out there. So it's not like one of those positions where if you trade Cass, it's like, all right, what do you do? Right.
Yeah.
People were saying, well, then why would you get rid of Eric Hosmer? Well, I mean, Hosmer was kind of one of those guys you could have just, parted with. There still are other options. I feel like, I don't know. I just wonder. I feel like the Red Sox are high on him. What do you think ends up happening with Cassis if you were to kind of throw something in the dark? Do you feel like the Red Sox value keeping him a little bit more, or do you feel like there could be a chance he could get traded?
Well, I mean, he could be, but the thing about it, you never know what the front office is thinking right about now. I mean, they may be looking at, like you said, the rotation. You need to improve the rotation. Yeah. And there are some free agent first basemen out there that has a lot of big league experience. Like you said, a Brandon Belt, Trey Mancini. Those guys, I mean, Trey Mancini knows the American League East quite well.
Mm-hmm.
He knows all those pitchers.
Yeah.
Brandon Belt, he's a great hitter, fastball hitter. I mean, the guy can crush the fastball and showed a lot of patience, but injuries have been one of the main things that kept him out of the lineup.
Yeah.
But, you have to look at the whole picture, not just, okay, we got this great prospect at first base, let's see what he can do. But you have to look at the whole picture as far as trying to put together a World Series type team, a team that's going to compete in the East. And right now, the Red Sox, for me personally, I don't see them up top like they usually are against the Yankees, the Blue Jays, even the Orioles. Look at the Orioles and the Rays.
Yeah.
Holy cow. I mean, that's going to be a tough division. So you cannot go into that division with a mediocre type lineup or rotation. You're going to have to make a statement this offseason.
Yeah. And, it was looking a little grim there for a little bit. And all of a sudden, now things are looking up a little bit. There is one thing or one guy that the Red Sox signed, since we have our mind on the rotation right now. Corey Kluber coming to Boston. Hey, I love it. I have predicted Kluber for the last 3 off seasons. I always do on my channel. I always do free agent predictions. They always go terrible. They're never right. I get a few right here and there, but for the most part, they're an absolute joke. I did call Kluber to the Red Sox this offseason, so I can say I got one right. Because to me, it made a lot of sense. He has a home in Massachusetts. The Red Sox have pursued him the last couple of off seasons. They ended up going to the Yankees and the Rays. I thought, to me, all right, third time's a charm. Kluber's got to come to the Red Sox here. He's been staying in the East, has a home in Mass. I love it. I love Kluber. Okay, it's not the Klubot that we remember, going back into the mid-2010s. It's not the same Cy Young Corey Kluber. This is a guy, veteran guy, can give you some good solid innings. He's still pretty hard to hit. He doesn't give up a lot of hard contact.
You're absolutely right about that. Now, the thing about it, he doesn't have that blazing fastball like he used to, 94, 95 miles per hour, but he's pushing 90 to 92. But that pitch that everyone is still talking about is that swing and miss slider and curveball that he has. I mean, I would love to know the spin rate of his pitches, of his breaking ball pitches, because it just snaps off, man. And you see big leaguers just swing right through that pitch. And he has an excellent changeup. And the thing about it, he's a veteran pitcher, like you said, knows how to pitch, spots the ball well, plus he adds and subtracts on his pitches. So, good call there.
Yeah, I love it a lot. And if we're taking a look here at the movement, his curveball was still excellent last year when it came to horizontal movement. Had 5.6 inches of horizontal movement more compared to the average curveball last year. Sinker was still looking really good. You got some good defense behind you in the infield. So, Trevor Story out there, so you don't have to worry about the ground balls. He still works in that cutter. He works in that cutter quite a bit. He doesn't go to just a 4-seamer all that much. He is really turned to more of like a cutter sinker kind of a mix. So he knows how to pitch. It kind of reminds me, Kurt Schilling. Kurt Schilling didn't have that fastball anymore in 2007. The guy was going out there throwing like 90, but my goodness, he was working in the splitter. He was working in all this
about
stuff.
Spotting your pitches. And those two guys know how to pitch. Yeah.
And you can still see with Kluber, he's excellent at throwing strikes, He's attacking the zone. He was right there in the top 1% last year in walk percentage. Doesn't give up a whole lot of exit velocity. Doesn't give up a whole lot of hard hit percentage. I know Chaim Bloom loves that. He loves bringing in these guys that don't give up hard hit balls. That's one thing that's consistent with him. If you ever see him bring in a pitcher, usually never are they low when it comes to average exit velocity. It's one thing I've noticed that he looks for. So I love it. I think Kluber was a great addition. But since we are on the topic of the rotation, we got to talk about some rumors involving Chris Sale. On Christmas of all days, John Heyman tweeting out that teams were making phone calls about Chris Sale. Now, here's the thing with Chris Sale. Now, this is where baseball trade values can come in very handy. His contract right now is basically the same thing as when you get a car and you drive it off the lot. Already you're underwater on it. So he's a negative $13 million value. Why? Well, you're paying him a lot of money, and he hasn't really been healthy the last couple of years. So he has negative value at the moment. So what you would have to do with Chris Sale is you would have to either pay off some of the contract to get it into the positive equity, or you would have to put a player with value with him in a trade. So I don't know. What are you thinking here about Chris Sale? Do you think it's more just kicking tires? I don't think they get rid of him. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm not surprised other teams are going to call in and ask about a pitcher here and there because, look, the Red Sox have Chris Sale. The guy, he could pitch. It's just a matter of him staying healthy. I mean, we got a small sample of what he could do when he came back healthy. The guy still has the velocity, 95 to 97 miles per hour. He's got that big sweeping breaking ball, and he has that presence on the mound. He can come right at you.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a matter of him being healthy. And last year, that whole rotation was snake bitten. It was just something going on in the orbit or whatever. Everyone was getting hurt or wasn't healthy, missing starts, this and that. But no, Chris Sale, if that's just like spaghetti on the wall. I don't think anything's going to stick. It's going to slide right off. He's going to be a Red Sox. And, the only thing that I was thinking, you have a guy like that's, he's out there, Michael Walker. I'm like, dude, this guy, he won. Well, how many games did he win for us last year?
I believe because he did miss some time.
Was it 8 or 9 starts? Here. I mean, well, no, he was 10-1, maybe 10-2.
Yeah, he was on the positive side when it came to his record.
Yeah.
Let me pull up Walker. So Walker, he had a very good season last year.
He did.
Taking a look here, he had 23 starts, a 3.32 ERA. He was 11-2. So yeah, he definitely was a positive influence.
He was a
on
positive,
that
but like you said, it depends on that veteran presence. It goes a long ways, man. And you get a guy like Kluber, you get a guy like Chris Sale back, Michael Walker possibly. You can get those young guys to buy into a lot of different things. Work with some of the habits that these guys have. It works, man. I've seen it so many times.
Oh yeah, it's easy to get into the numbers, the advanced numbers, but what you don't see a lot on the stat sheet is just the intangibles that they bring.
Exactly.
The experience that they bring, the competitiveness that they bring. It can rub off on other players. That's what I liked about Waka last year. He brought some good vibes in a season that just didn't go very well. But you mentioned a very I think an important thing when it comes to the Red Sox rotation is they had a lot of injuries, and I do think there is the potential for the bounce back, right? Really dipped last year, but they could definitely bounce back in a big way. And one thing I want to mention about Chris Sale, I've mentioned this a couple of times on my own show, where he has not had any since Tommy John. He hasn't had really any problems at all, like with his arm or like breaking down. He's just had these fluke injuries, like falling off of a bike. Like, who the heck falls off their bike? I remember when I first read them, like, what the heck is he doing? Was he going down a hill or something? Or
I didn't know if he hit a boulder or what, just flipped it.
Because a bear attacked him or something. I don't know what, but Chris Sale, to me, he's just had these fluke and his finger exploding at Yankee Stadium, like it just freak injuries.
Yeah.
And then there was something with his rib at one point, it's so to me, I think Chris Sale, it's like, just come in, just don't go near any bikes. Don't be ripping down TVs in the dugout or whatever, and with the Woo socks and everything. Just come in, just go on the mound and just pitch. And I guarantee he could have a really good season. I don't need 300 strikeout Chris Sale. I need, I don't know, 180 to 200 strikeouts, 30 starts, mid 3 ERA. I'm good with that. Just please give me that. That's all I need. And then you got someone like James Paxton, obviously, who knows.
Yeah, he's still there. I keep forgetting about him. That's right.
It's like you haven't heard about him. So it's there's a lot of upside with this rotation. I do feel like they need someone that you can count on. Like Pivetta is one guy you give you starts. He's had the most starts for the Red Sox in the last couple of years. I'm not worried about Nick Pivetta, really. I think he's a good 3-4 in a rotation. I think they need to just bring in someone that you can count on that's going to give you starts. Because I've mentioned this, when the Red Sox have just, in the 2021 season, when they just made their start every 5th day, it was going well. And with this bullpen, if you can just get 5 or 6 innings out of this rotation, this bullpen has a good amount of potential. They can close out these games. That's all you need. You just need these guys to make their starts. I would love someone like a Pablo Lopez. I think it'd be great. I mean, Edward Cabrera would be fun from the Marlins because this guy's got stuff for days.
He does.
Jesus Luzardo is a fun pitcher, but to me, I want Pablo Lopez. That I don't know. Maybe I'm asking.
If they're talking with the Marlins, I mean, I'm sure that the Marlins are trying to find and look at one of the top prospects in the system, or I'm sure a kid like Brian Bayo is at home like, dude, don't forget about me.
Yeah, and him too.
And I'm telling you, he's the kind of kid, he's not under the radar anymore. I mean, he showed enough people what he has on a daily basis. 4 quality pitches, 3 big league pitches that I think they can play at any time. He can throw it at any time. So if he can, the confidence level, if he can come with that same confidence that he had those last 3 or 4 starts, you got something on your hands.
And he's been working with Pedro this offseason. I've been seeing videos. They've been working together. They've been having a good old time out there. So, I'm kind of surprised Fangraphs doesn't have him projected for the rotation. I feel like he's going to be in the rotation.
Oh, I believe so.
I don't see why Fangraphs doesn't have him here. I wonder if we end up getting to a point where the Red Sox have too much starting pitching. Well, you can never have too much starting pitching. But I wonder, with guys like Whitlock, does he stay in the rotation? Paxton to me is the wild card. To me, it's like whatever you get from Paxton at this point, great. Awesome. Big Maple, would love it if he can contribute, but you don't know. So you have to go with something right now that you can count on. I got one more wild card for you here, Ellis. I got one more for you. This is a doozy. This is a bit of a hot button issue right now.
Let me take a drink of water then. Hold on.
You're going to have to, man. You're going to have to while you're saying that. Now, what do you think about this? Tomorrow, there's a certain deadline out there where a team has to decide if they're going to hang on to this guy or not. I don't know if you know him or not. His name is Trevor Bauer. I don't think the Red Sox even touch him. I don't think they go anywhere near him. Would you take a chance on someone like that where there's a lot of baggage coming in? Ooh. There's a lot of question marks. However, man, with what he can do on the mound, baseball wise, absolutely. Baseball pitching wise, absolutely.
I
don't know, but then it comes with the other stuff too. What do you think about that? There's a whole lot of divide amongst fans about how they feel about him. I don't know. I don't think the Red Sox even touch him or even call him. I don't know. But, Chaim Bloom loves a deal. Maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
Now, let me put it like this. I'm here in the suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, about 40 miles east of Cleveland.
Yes.
And Watson was the same way for the Browns. Okay. They knew that there was going to be a lot of backlash. They knew that they're going to get a lot of flack from different people, different organizations, but they did not care. They went out and got this guy. He served his time as far as his suspension.
Yeah.
And, he's putting back into the community. He's doing all sorts of stuff, around the area. So he's trying to right the ship. Now,
Yeah.
with Trevor Bauer, he's been out just like Watson was for a while.
Yes.
It's going to be very interesting, but some team will take a look at this guy and they're going to take a chance. You know, he's going to definitely have to have some sort of counseling, some sort of community stuff. He's got to do a lot of time in the community, building that trust back up, because, I mean, the things that he was accused of doing was quite vicious.
Right. Oh,
You know?
yeah. Of course. You know, there's definitely, you know, there's no excuse, you know, for any of that. You know, sure, it was dismissed or not dismissed, but it didn't go any further in court. You know, there wasn't enough evidence to really pursue anything. Restraining orders were shot down, you know, so nothing really came of it. There is, I guess, a countersuit. Who knows how far that goes?
Yeah.
But, you know, the one thing I said this the other night, I said, listen, whatever you do off the field, I don't care what it is you do off the field. Just don't do anything dumb. Don't be doing anything ridiculous. You know, keep yourself composed off the field, you know, and just like you said, being a good member in the community.
Yeah.
Again, I don't care what it is you do off the field. What you do in your own time, that's your call. That's none of my business. But you got to keep yourself, you got to have, you know, a good character off the field. Yes. Obviously, whatever happened with him, something did not go right. You know, whatever you want to say, whatever happened, whatever your opinion is, I think we can all agree that something did not go right. So with Bauer, again, I don't care what you do off the field. Just don't be doing anything stupid. Don't be doing anything dumb. If he were to come to Boston, you know, and can show how good of a person he could be in the community, like you said, you know, showing the fans love, you know, and obviously he's a lightning rod of a guy, you know, YouTube channel, got a big following. He's got a big, you know, big crowd of supporters. I think it would be pretty fun. I've always been a fan of Trevor Bauer, you know, with just the way he pitches. Man, he was doing the sword thing in this Cy Young season in 2020, you know.
I'll tell you what, from a baseball standpoint, Robbie, he is up top when you talk about strikeouts, when you talk about just out there innings pitch. He's a workhorse, put it like that. I mean, he does some off the wall things to get warmed up as far as, you know, his routine prior to pitching. But that's works for him. It doesn't work for everyone else, but the things that he does, it works for him. Now, like I said, from a baseball standpoint, no biggie. Yeah, any team would love to go get him. Now, from a standpoint of just off the field stuff, I don't know if a team is willing to do that yet. Somebody may sign him and send him to the minor leagues for a little while, or you know, it's not going to be at the big leagues right away. Yeah,
it'll be interesting what ends up happening with him. He has been keeping himself in shape. You know, he does on his own channel. He's still throwing like 97. Still got a good looking slider. He's still throwing some good stuff. Him and Eric Sims, I don't know if you know him. He has a channel as well, but he was a former minor leaguer. They're always making content together. He's throwing gas by him, 97 miles an hour, just blowing it right by him. So Bauer is still looking good.
Oh, he looks great. I've seen a couple of things. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a ballsy move by some organization. And let me say this. Whenever they do, whatever club does, once he comes in, that first start, if he comes in and shuts it down, just get all of the distractions out of his mind. Don't think about it, because you're going to have hecklers, you're going to have signs, you're going to have, you know, different groups coming out to the stadium, whatever. Yeah. But if his skin is thick enough where that kind of stuff doesn't bother him, oh, he's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, I think personally, you know, like I would be okay with him, you know, coming here. You know, in the end, things were dismissed or not taken any further. You know, sure, yeah, probably, you know, something, whatever. Obviously, something did not go right, you know, with that whole thing. You know, it's a lot of he said, she said. You know, I'm not going to get into all those.
Right. We don't have.
It's very, to me, I'm willing to give someone second chances, and like he has definitely had some moments, he's actually had other, he's been in the news for similar incidences, with that. So, there is a huge lightning rod with him. I personally don't think the Red Sox will go after him. That's just what I think. I would think Chaim Bloom, he loves himself a good deal. He could probably, you could probably sign this guy for like $10 million, get him for a cheap 1-year deal, kind of get him a redemption contract. He's not going to go out there and get, big time bucks, but he will, I think, get himself, like a 1-year, $10 to $15 million deal. I wonder, the Red Sox, they are pretty big when it comes to PR. That was another thing I was going to ask you too, with Rafael Devers. I'll get back to Bauer here in a second, but I want to ask you this. With Rafael Devers, do you feel like that maybe ownership, John Henry, he was at the Winter Classic at Fenway Park. This guy got booed like out the building, basically, at his own ballpark. And I almost wonder if ownership was like, all right, okay, we got to get a deal done. Because if you remember, we talked about this in the last episode. They were galaxies, quote, galaxies apart, you know, and now all of a sudden they got it done. I don't know. That's what I think. I think John Henry, they are pretty big on the PR side. I think you could feel it. There was like your stomach was turning a little bit as a Red Sox fan. It wasn't feeling very good. They needed a feel good moment,
considering everything that's happened, Robbie, not signing Bogey, not really being aggressive on the free agent market going out. I mean, you got Kenley Jansen. Yeah, he's a great stopper. I mean, that guy, he's been around. You got Chris Martin, who's the third baseman, Dodgers?
Oh, Justin Turner.
You got Justin Turner. Great moves.
Yeah.
But you had to make a splash. You had to get one of your guys to stay home. And we're talking about trades. I did not particularly like talking about trading Rafi a couple of weeks ago, but it's a possibility. It was a possibility. So we had to mention it. But that was the smartest thing the Red Sox could have did as far as with the organization, with Red Sox Nation. Everyone loves this guy, Rafi Devers. All right. Yep. He's got such an upside. He's young. He can hit. His defense was there. Last year, it's going to improve each and every year. And that was a great move on their part. Now, considering the PR from that Bauer, I don't know if that would be something that the Red Sox would do.
Yeah.
To bring a guy like that with that much baggage in right now. Now, if he went to another team and did well for 1 year, like you said, a 1-year deal with that team, next year, bam, there are going to be a lot of clubs interested. But it's going to be, I'm going to use that word again, it's going to be interesting to see who will be the first team to give him an opportunity.
Yeah, I am interested. I'm going to be honest with you. This is kind of my gut thing. I almost wonder if just the Dodgers just bring him back, because it's like, at the end of the day, I know that might sound kind of crazy, but at the end of the day, he just makes your team better. He's already on your team.
I mean, he's got some good stuff, man. That kid.
My God. Yeah. There was a report out there. There was a kind of conflicting reports. There was one report a few days ago where players on the team were like, no, we don't want that distraction. Probably shouldn't bring him back. But now there's another report out there that there's some players that are like, bring him back.
It's all about winning. It's all about trying to improve your club.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you're going to consider everything else outside of baseball. You definitely will.
Yeah.
But
absolutely,
when it boils, everyone would, like you said earlier, everyone deserves a second chance. You're going to make a mistake here and there. Everyone does that. Sometimes it just gets the best of you, but it's just a matter of who's going to be that first team. Just like the Cleveland Browns here for Watson. When there was a little fire sale for him, there were so many teams interested, but Cleveland just upped and said, hey, I'll give you a 5-year, $240 million guarantee, all of that money.
Yeah.
Blew everyone out of the water.
Yeah. And it's kind of the thing, man. It's kind of how the media plays. You you don't, you hear so much about a guy, and then all of a sudden, you're not really hearing anything about him. I haven't heard anything about him for quite a while now. Time
I was about to say, time means a lot of things.
Yeah. Tomorrow is the deadline for Bauer. I personally feel like I think I actually read, I think Trey Turner was doing some kind of a Q&A or something. I don't remember. I think he was doing it on Reddit. I don't know if he was doing it for like Phillies fans or whatever, but I think someone asked him about Bauer. Where does he end up going? And I think Turner actually said he thinks he'll end up just staying with the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting. I wonder if the Dodgers, because they've been very quiet about it. They've been very hush hush. Yeah. I wonder if they
big in LA. It was a big deal in LA. Now, I'm gonna tell you from a player's standpoint.
Yeah,
they will definitely have a players meeting, call, Zoom call, whatever it may be, and they will ask the players, "What do you think? Be honest with us. What do you think?" We had that meeting with when I was with the Indians years ago, when they brought John Rocker over. They brought they brought 5 of us into the manager's office.
Ooh.
And we talked about it, and we said, okay, everyone deserves another shot. I think this guy can help us win. He came in, and he was nothing like what people were talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked to the guy. I talk to him all the time. About 3 weeks ago, we had a conversation on the phone. Yeah. Totally different. And he was very remorseful for what had happened and everything. Let me tell you something. Great guy. I say that to everyone, but everyone deserves a second chance. And I'm sure the Dodgers are having this conversation right now with some of their players.
Oh, yeah. They've been very quiet. And that's the one thing, the power of the Zoom, right? The power of the Zoom call. You can get all those players in a Zoom call. So I'm sure there's going to be a bit of a split. I'm sure, a lot of guys feel that way. Come on, let's just bring him back. Second chance. I'm sure you have a couple of guys that are like, oh, I don't know. It might,
Sure.
Honestly, I feel like in LA, it is it's a little more laid back, in my opinion. I feel like people give it a few weeks, let it kind of just, you're going to have his first start. Yeah, the media ESPN will be pulling it all up all over the place, you know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But you get into May, you get into June. He's got himself a 6-1 record, ERA of 3.45,
and nothing off the field again.
Yeah, that wherever he goes, they're gonna have to do something, with him. Like they're gonna have to be like, all right, I don't know, you need to you got a curfew, man. Like you need to be in bed by 10. I'm
gonna give you an ankle bracelet.
Yeah, man. Did you ever hear of any? I mean, I know, like obviously that wouldn't happen. What we just said wouldn't happen. But have you ever heard of anything like that with a player where, like, they just had like these things like in their contracts where, just like they gotta be home by a certain time, or like, have you ever heard anything like that?
When Pac-Man Jones was with the Cowboys, they had all kinds of stipulations in his contract.
Yeah.
He had to have 2 guys with him all the time. I mean, it was crazy. Wow. I was like, wow.
Yeah. And I think he's got a podcast here on the BLEAV Podcast Network.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Look at that. Look how far he's come. But yeah, man, I mean, seriously, you can make it work, and I think Bauer, at this point, Bauer's a businessman. He understands. He's probably going to have to. There's probably going to be something is going to have to happen where, where checking in, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not an expert in any of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. But
I think there's going to have to be
something's going to happen tomorrow. Something will happen tomorrow. He's going to be eligible to sign with whomever, and we'll see.
Yeah. Again, hey. Would not mind him at all, in a Red Sox uniform. Again, I really don't care what these players do off the field. It's their life. I'm not going to sit here and, say, oh, this person obviously shouldn't be doing anything ridiculous, getting into any, sort of trouble at all. Like, especially those kind of accusations. No, like, no way. It got to the point where it got far enough to where obviously something hairy was going on, like something, where something could have been prevented, So I think with Bauer, yeah, I think he understands this now. Again, I don't care what these guys are doing. Just don't be getting in any, don't be doing anything stupid. Just come in, do what you got to do your job. I hope the best for him. I hope the best for everyone when it comes to just their life and having success. But, you got to have, just keeping a good head on your shoulders. And I hope he figures it out. And I hope he gets whatever it is going on just straight and he's just playing baseball,
Well, these are the kind of situations that are eye-opening and that really make you focus again. So, yeah, I'm sure he will be locked in on doing his job on the field, and that's it.
I think so too. And I think that's going to be something where, he's not going to be, talking with whoever, on the Instagrams and, texting random people. I think he's going to be a little bit more. He's got to remember this guy was going through, he went through a fun free agency that we hadn't really seen before. Kind of like almost like the LeBron James free agency tour with, the decision, he kind of made it like that. Honestly, I was pretty into it. I didn't know he was putting all these videos out there like, oh man, what do you think of me on the Blue Jays? What do you think of me on the Angels? Like, it was hilarious to me. Like, I thought it was so funny.
Wasn't he the one that came out with the sticky stuff with the ball stuck to his hand like that?
Yeah, like he's a lightning rod of a guy. That's why Major League Baseball, I don't think they're a big fan of him because they're not. I think it's pretty evident. But he is someone that he has called them out on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But then there was like the whole thing, you could definitely blame him for that performance in the ALCS against the Blue Jays back in 2016. He was like fixing up his one of his drones.
Oh yeah.
And then he like completely cut his hand.
Yeah.
And then it's like, come on, dude. Why are you fixing up a drone before a playoff game? Like, what are you doing?
I would be with the Indians at the time.
Yeah. He's done some silly things, but I hope the best for him. And I hope he has learned from this whole thing. And, at the end of the day, I would love him on the Red Sox. Would the Red Sox love him on there? I don't know about that. I personally don't see it, but you never know. They have brought in some guys before that have had some iffy track records. And, it's happened. We'll have to just wait and see.
Boston is a sports town.
Yeah.
And, you can go either way with the fans there. It's just going to be a matter of who's going to give them a shot, like I said. And I don't know if the Red Sox are willing to do that right now.
I definitely think the couple of teams that I have in mind personally, I know we're a Red Sox show here, but I think I do think the Dodgers personally are still an option because he's still there. He's still on the team. So I think you could just, at the end of the day, I think they do need another guy. They lost Tyler Anderson. They need a guy. So who knows what's going on with Walker Buehler? He'll make your team better. I think it would be really cool if maybe the Diamondbacks maybe took a look at him, bring him home. That's where he was drafted. They could use a guy. The White Sox, hey, they had the whole thing with, Tony La Russa, a couple of years ago. People were really questioning that. He had some off the field things going on. I think, Mike Clevenger there, good buddy with Trevor Bauer. I wonder if they could bring him in. There's teams out there.
Sure.
I think he will land somewhere personally. I just think there's too much there. It's not like he's a guy that's like a 4th or 5th starter in a rotation. Like,
no, he's up there.
Minor league guy. Like, this is 2020 Cy Young.
Yeah,
like,
he's up there.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think teams at the end of the day, they know there will be it'll be a little bumpy in the beginning. But that's why I wonder if Boston would be really a great fit because the media and everything, it might be a little much.
They can always call the general manager of the Cleveland Browns and just get some feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. But either way, at the end of the day, the whole point here is the Red Sox still have work to do.
Yep.
They definitely have to do something with this rotation. I would love Pablo Lopez. I feel like a Marlins deal makes sense, whether that involves Tristan Cassis or not. I think we have it's good to – I feel like most of the shows that we've done have been pretty negative for the most part. Like, it feels actually pretty good to have a feel-good topic for once.
Yeah.
So it's
that's because we didn't know. There was a lot of, it's a lot of stuff we just didn't know about. We're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing too with Chaim Bloom. And we said this in the last show, trust the process. Just let things play out. People want to jump the gun when it comes to it. He was getting a lot of heat, and it's like, hey, come on now. You got to just
He's a great guy too, man. Very nice guy.
Yeah, man. I was like, come on, man. Like this, come on. Just let the guy do his job. So he did. He got a huge one done. But Ellis, man, any final words before we end episode 27?
Well, I'd just like to say I think that was a great move signing Rafi for that long of an extension. The Red Sox really showed not only the fans of Boston, they're going in the right direction. They just showed the nation that, the Red Sox are not a small market team. They are a big market team, and they're going to continue to do so in the future.
Yeah, and I think that could be another thing too. Maybe they're not really being aggressive for some of these guys out there because they wanted to lock up their own guy, Sure. Could you have done that with Bogarts years back? I personally think there's an argument to be made. Maybe you could have done the same deal for Bogarts, instead of giving him the 6-year extension, but these are the times, guys are getting these 10-year, 11-year deals. You got to get with the times. And with a guy like Rafael Devers, it made sense.
Yeah, so, age-wise, it made a perfect sense.
Yeah, that's why I like with Bogarts. I wouldn't have done the same deal now, personally.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you could have maybe made that argument, a few years ago when he was, 25 or so. Right. You could have done it then. And that's where I think the Red Sox, at the end of the day, the market is always changing. It's the times are always changing, and you got to adapt, and that's sometimes true. It takes some teams a little longer to adapt, to some things. And hopefully the Red Sox, they can learn a little bit from that. And, but the Atlanta Braves, that's one organization, man. They're doing it right. They're getting all these guys locked up, 22, 23 years old, man. Braves, that's how you do it right there.
Well, Robbie, I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have me locked in on the computer tomorrow or on the baseball shows, the networks, just to see what the hell happens tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. But everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. Don't forget about our sponsor, Bet Online. The code is BLEAV. Get a 50% welcome bonus. But Ellis, man, it's always great talking with you, and we talked some good stuff tonight, man.
You got it.
We'll be back eventually. We will eventually have some kind of news because this team is not done. So we'll be back soon, everyone. Everyone, thank you for tuning in tonight. Have yourself a great night, and we'll talk to you next time.